listeners. I am super excited today to share one of my favorite conversations with all of you. This conversation is with Chago Martin, the owner and operator of Paragon Personnel and Trilogy Personnel and Land Management. This conversation actually personally resonated with me. Chago got a little emotional during our conversation. I did too. And overall, it was an amazing conversation. I totally enjoyed it, and I hope all of you do too. Please enjoy the conversation. So Chago, this is really exciting today. I'm so excited to be chatting with you because this was a couple months ago that you and I met. And that was our first time that you and I met. Mm-hmm. But when we met, I remember leaving that conversation so energized because it felt like the way you lead your organization is so much very similar to what we do at UnitedAg and what I kind of think leadership should be. So I'm super excited to talk to you and for our listeners to see what nuggets that they can get from this conversation.
Yeah, I do. I recall that conversation, and I left the conversation feeling the exact same way. Very positive, very, almost kind of very fortunate to be doing what I was doing, to be having the conversations we were having.
Being in your position as a leader, what is one of the most important thing that we should really think about when we lead?
For me, leading, I tried to do it, from my heart and in consideration of people, putting people first, recognizing the importance of people, and even more so the importance of relationship. I don't, right or wrong, I don't know, but I just have this perspective of life that, not in a necessarily bad or negative way, but that it's just tough, right? Life is tough. We've all got so much piled on, so much expectation put on us, that we put on ourselves. And I recognize just how difficult it is to live up to that. I make decisions from that place. I communicate from that place. Just trying to recognize that everyone, in my opinion, has a genuine desire to do the best that they can. And it's just a matter of, figuring out what it's going to take to get there.
And when you really think you lead from that, it actually takes a lot of time because you have to really spend the time. But the time invested in doing that is more kind of gives long-term benefits, right? Don't you think?
Yeah. That's a great comment for me. Just a little background for myself. The business that I'm a part of, it was started in 1995 by my dad and uncle. At that point, right, it was just two gentlemen who had a desire for something greater than what they were currently doing. And they went to work providing a farm labor contracting service, which essentially is like a staffing agency for ag. They were very good at what they did, coordinating crews, getting into the field, doing the harvest, weeding, pruning, whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't until 2004, after having graduated, where I came to work for our family. And at that point, my dad and uncle were both nice enough to just be accepting of me coming back to work for them, recognizing that I didn't have the background they had. I didn't grow up in the field. I didn't have the same technical expertise, but I think just out of love for our family, we're very close. They said yes. And I plugged myself into the business and did what I could. That turned into me spending nearly 20 years just building all the various support services that at that early point, we were paying for. So human resource support, payroll services, safety, bookkeeping and accounting. So again, the last 20 years, I spent all my time building those departments. And it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years ago where my dad and uncle both kind of officially just let us know that, hey, we're ready to not be so busy. We're ready to not really have to be everyone's last phone call kind of thing. And so I had to start this transition of essentially taking on that responsibility, which, if I'm honest, it was one that I kind of assumed would occur, but always thinking like it's later. Mm-hmm. I'm doing what I'm doing now, kind of thing. I will say that it's been an incredibly difficult transition for me, incredibly difficult.
And why is that? Is that from?
I can tell you, exactly why. I spend a lot of time thinking about it.
Yeah.
I have this really strong desire. I'm very obedient, mm-hmm. especially when it comes to my dad and uncle and my family. And I have the same expectation, right?
Yeah.
To perform, to contribute,
Yeah.
to do the right thing. The bar that they set, right, is pretty high within our own little world, right?
Right.
As far as our family goes, our small community. I mean, so I kind of accepted those responsibilities, but still recognizing the pressure, of what it meant to say yes to that. Again, it's been probably 3 years in the making, where I've had to figure out, what does that look like for me, right? To lead a business, to lead people. And I think I spent a majority of this last 3 years doing it how I thought they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad and uncle have huge hearts, great people, but they have an ability to just be very business minded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Driven by success,
right?
By financial success, by profit. In no way not taking people into consideration, but just driven by just accomplishment and just figuring things out and doing things. And I respect that, and I admire that, and I also appreciate that. But it wasn't like who I was, and it wasn't what drove me. And for me, a lot of that decision making coming from that place with only those things into consideration, looking back, I recognized that it was very empty for me. It was just kind of robotic, kind of like, this is how they did it in the past, this is how it has to be done in the future, kind of thing. And I started to just take a hard look inward, right? And I reached out to some people, started just asking questions. I had to learn how to, allow myself to be vulnerable, just say, hey, this is not working for me. Like, I really don't know why I'm walking through these doors every day. Other than my desire to be obedient to my family and help, continue whatever success they had gotten to experience. It took a lot of work, a lot of conversations, and in no way am I there yet, but I have gotten to the point to where I've been able to recognize how important people are. I'm sorry, I get emotional about it. How important people are, and relationships.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know why I get so emotional. I think it goes back to I do genuinely feel like it's so hard, and I feel like an emotional attachment to people, and that we're all just trying to figure this out, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been given this incredible opportunity to lead people, and over time I've recognized how special that is in so many ways, in ways that for me are apart from the money side, right? Just how much of a connection you can make with someone, and recognizing how hard it is, and how much a desire we do have for something better for ourselves, whether it's money, whether it's our kids, whatever it is, but we're all attempting to achieve some level of success, accomplish some goal, and how dependent we are on each other to eventually get there. It changed what my expectation was of myself. It changed the expectation that I was putting on our organization, on the people that we've asked to support us and help run it. And all of a sudden I found myself with this, I never lacked a desire, right? But now it was for a different reason to do what I was doing. I found myself having this, having an excitement about the conversations I was having. It really turned from me to, my phone would ring and I would get anxious and really not want to confront whatever it was that I was going to have to deal with.
Okay.
To having this perspective of, this is an opportunity for connection. Mm-hmm. This is an opportunity for me to let this person know how much I desire for their success just as much as my success. For whatever reason, I'm not driven by the idea of profit and money, but I do recognize how critically important it is.
Yeah.
Right? Because without that, right, we won't be able to help each other out at all.
Correct.
And so I've had to understand how to recognize that importance and carry it with me.
When you're talking through this, very, very similar to my struggles, some of the struggles. And it happens on a daily basis also, because I'm looking at it from a compliance standpoint, from an underwriting standpoint, from a financial standpoint, sometimes even from a human resources standpoint. My thoughts and my processes could come in the way of compliance. And that, what you just said, is my constant struggle too. And I actually did kind of an like sat down for a month, every weekend, couple hours, to see if, am I doing the right thing? Because am I impacting the business? Am I not making smart decisions because I'm looking at it through the lens of human beings more than the business? So when you said that, I actually that's a struggle that people like, I guess you and I go through every day, because how do you balance the business side of things, and from our end, it's a compliance side of things, and how do you do right by the people?
It's exhausting, right? Because along with thinking about all of those things, I'm super critical of myself, right? Because I don't want to make the wrong decision, and it's not even for my own behalf, right? It's because it's on behalf of a lot of people that that I want to do the right thing, and it's exhausting, right? To constantly be existing in that tension that exists between what you think is the right way to do things and the way that you think compliance tells you need to do things. Correct. Right? It's very, very tough. Yeah.
So you come across, because you and I seem to be very human-centric people, but for others, it comes across that maybe you're too nice, or you're a nice people, or nice, right? So you're going to say yes to everything because whatever. So do you find in any of these situations that you were taken advantage of, and that kind of gets you a little jaded because the next time you do something, you're like, oh, I got this, this didn't go well. Do you go through that?
I do go through that often. I was just having a fairly difficult conversation earlier this week where the person that I was speaking with flat out pointed that out. That
you're too nice.
That they didn't want me in later conversations because I was too nice and a pushover. I don't know what that means, right? I mean, I don't concern myself with whether I'm being pushed over or not. I behave the same way either way, and naturally, instinctually, I give a ton of grace, a ton of patience, and I recognize that for me, and I assume it's the same for others, that things take time. And I look at myself and I think back on what it took for me to cross the finish line, right? It took me falling. It took me not working on it. It took me coming back to it. It didn't happen overnight. And so when I'm working with people to try to accomplish a goal, meet an expectation, make a decision, I try to remember that and behave in the same way. Give that person the same grace that I give myself, right? Because I'm not very hard on myself, when I fall, right? I just kind of pick myself back up.
Yep.
And I try to give people that same space and that same opportunity to exist, to function, to decision make, to fall, but to have a safe place to come to, right, when it occurs, so that we can talk it out, so we can figure out what didn't work.
What somebody sees that as a pushover is a strength, right? I mean, you need a very strong person to stand true to who they are. So I'll tell you a story. When I came in as the CEO of UnitedAg, right? So people in the ag industry, here it's a little bit different where we are at the conference, but people don't look like me, don't sound like me. So when I came in, I had a lot of, I struggle with that because my accent, do I sound like whatever, right? And the way I look. And for first couple months, I actually had an image of what a CEO and a president should look like, because that's what I see around. And I was trying to be that. And it was so stressful, and it was really hard. And I'm sure I was not making the right decisions because that was not who I was. I was pretending to be somebody else. And one day I was sitting down at home and I was super stressed with this. And one of my older sons said, "Mom, you are a better leader when you are a CFO than you are a CEO because you've lost yourself. This is not who you are. nobody cares what you said. Because I used to get caught up on one word. Did I say this right? Is this accent correct? Is this not correct? Am I standing the right way? Am I dressing the right way? He said, just be you.
Yeah. But my goodness, the weight to carry, right? When you're walking around trying to be something that you're not. I still do it.
Yeah.
Right? And it gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
It's a big distraction, right, to what I'm trying to accomplish. But that's kind of what I was trying to describe. I feel like most of us have this just weight that we're carrying around with us, considering who we think we're supposed to be, behaving in the way that we think we're supposed to be behaving, right? And I think that whenever we give ourselves enough opportunity to be who we are, right, and just to be comfortable and vulnerable, but ourselves, right, things become very different.
It's very different.
Very, very different. So much more satisfying.
Yeah. That is true. And it is even not just from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint, right? We all get caught up in all this, the world around us. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's very natural to get caught up in competition with the kids, or who goes to what school, or what car are you driving? Where are you? What purses are you carrying? And not being that way, but pretending to be. And once you get that thing off, and it's such a big 100% agree with you. Your life becomes, suddenly you find that it's a switch. But I find that gives you such a lot of inner confidence once you become who you are, that I think that shines through who you are, right? The fakeness actually makes you more fake. When you're truly authentic on who you are, that actually makes you. So when I look at you, Chago, and we were talking about this earlier, you come across as such a real person that it feels it was very, my whole team, when they met you, that that came across, you shine as a leader.
Thank you. Thanks. I spend, I think, an unreasonable amount of time in my head, about thinking about all these things and what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? But at least at this point, I've gotten to the point to where I'm measuring my decisions and my behaviors off of how I think I should be making them, right? And who I am, right? No longer who someone else wants me to be. And it has been a huge relief. It really, really is. And again, I haven't figured it out, and I still deal with it often, very, very often. It wasn't that long ago and it wasn't like a light bulb, right? It didn't all of a sudden go off, but I was speaking with someone, and we were talking about this, and whatever it was they said, just almost like it gave me permission to just do things how I think they should be done. And I remember kind of letting that settle into me and dwelling in that. And again, it was only after, much longer conversations that had taken place over time. But in that moment, I just felt like this energy, this motivation to all of a sudden, like almost like the light had been turned on, almost like the door had been opened, and someone was greeting me to walk in to do it like you think you can do it, or that you think you should do it. It was all these things that I was imposing on myself,
right?
All these feelings that really weren't out there, right? They were just in my head, and whatever it was, whatever work I did, whatever conversations I had, over time, I was able to kind of let those things go, or not necessarily let them go, let them hang out, right? Yeah, they're there, and they come out, and I hate when they come out, but just recognize that they're just feelings, right? And they come and go. But what's important to me is that I'm me.
Chago, just from what you do and the way you lead right now, you have had tremendous success, because anytime I talk about you to I mention your name to a few board members and stuff, everybody respects you from the business aspect too, big time, because you've grown the company, right? So being true to yourself has had a big impact on your financial growth, right? Where you are.
Yeah, it has. I don't know the numbers off my head, but most definitely throughout the last 5-15 years, we've had great success, and I don't take credit for it. I'm certainly a part of it. This organization, the organization that I lead, is built off the back of people who are so committed to what they do, that work so hard for our shared success, and because of that, it's given me the space, right? Allowed me the time to do the work that I do, right? And so, yeah, we've experienced success. We've grown tremendously.
One of the things that I was thinking of, so when you see our listeners, right, and when people listen to it, or just even from me, what do you think, is there something that we can tweak a little bit if we have a different style of leading? What can somebody take away and say, let me make this one change in the way I do things to see how it works?
Gosh, that's a great question. I feel like I've been blessed with maybe an ability to think about the person first. I feel like I'm quickly able to put myself in their shoes while remaining in my shoes, right? Recognizing the feeling of having struggled and maybe incorrectly assuming that that's the same feeling they're feeling, right? And remembering wanting to so badly to not feel that way, right? Wanting so badly to be closer to the finish line, to have the answer, right? And so maybe just be more considerate of the fact that that's a person too. They want what you want. Believe it, they do, or else they wouldn't be here. We just haven't figured out how to get there yet. And don't assume otherwise.
Don't discount them too soon.
Right. Yeah.
So when it's all said and done, what would success be? What would you feel that I'm successful? It's a success. I'm a success.
For me, what success means is genuinely leading from my heart, not someone else's, and really valuing people. My goodness, if I'm not taking advantage of this opportunity I have to be so close to people and to build such tight and healthy relationships, to recognize the struggle, recognize desire, and do something productive with it, I don't think that I would be happy at all. So just maintaining closeness to people, right? Understanding goals and getting across the finish line together, not by myself. Yeah. I had a conversation a while ago, and it was about my dad and uncle, right? And just the idea of all this that I've been talking about, right? Like trying to understand how to do it my way, in a sense, And I realized that I didn't want to do it my way. I wanted to do it our way, right? Mm-hmm. And so I constantly remind myself of this conversation, because what I want to do is I want to do it with everyone at my side, right? Mm-hmm. Not behind me. Right. Not in front of me. Right. I want to do it together. Because if it's not right for you, it's not right for me. Right. And if it's not right for the other person, it's not right for me either. And so I have this desire to my success is dependent on everyone else's.
And that's the same thing when we're looking at UnitedAg, and we were thinking through this. When we are growing, but do you grow with the right set of people coming in, right? Are they aligned to the way we think? Because when you're not aligned, actually you met our VP of underwriting, and he will actually have data to show that when you're not employee-centric, your utilization is actually higher, and your health plan, as a health plan, you are paying in higher rates.
Wow, that's interesting.
Because it is the taking care of your employees, showing the empathy actually has, even from healthcare data, you see that. Every day when we all as employees get up in the morning, as members get up in the morning, board members, you find that I'm in something bigger than myself. I'm not part of just a health plan. I'm not just part of this, but I'm doing something beyond that as a fulfillment, right? Yeah, and that makes it exciting to be part of this, because it's something it's a cause. I mean, you need your financials, and you need bring home the food and all that. Mm-hmm. But when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, when we all sit down, my goal is everybody who's touched UnitedAg and has been part of UnitedAg, when it's all said and done, will feel I was part of something really big.
That's super cool, man. And I really admire your desire to lead in that way and to maintain an organization that above, most other things, if not above everything, right, prioritizes that particular aspect of their business. I feel as though I'm trying to do the same thing with ours. I'm trying to build that same kind of confidence that what I'm trying to do, the way that I'm trying to do it, is right. Yeah. But I'm still trying to figure out, what does right mean?
Yep. That's a lifelong journey.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah.
We do that every day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else, Chago, that I missed that you want to share with our listeners?
No, just thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you. You asked, and inside I said no right away. Right?
I remember that.
Yeah. But I also immediately kind of recognized how special it was to be asked for something like that, to be considered in that way. And again, try to look at it as an opportunity for something so much bigger than work, an opportunity for a certain level of connection that I'm hopeful for in everything that I do. So thank you for asking me to be here. Thank you for listening. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you for taking the time. Actually, one of my guests, his name is AJ Sisney. I sat down and we started this conversation very much aligned to your way of thinking. And as he was talking through it and discussing it, at the end of it, when we were done, he said, thank you for giving. I've never really, I do it every day, but I don't ever go back and reflect and think through this. So this podcast was actually, he said, was really good for me to this is, so that's what it was. It was awesome. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.